As you can tell, we're suffering through another vicious winter here in Queensland, right in the middle of winter. And this is it. G'day, I'm Roland Hearn, and this is a walk in the garden. Actually, today I have driven about 10 minutes from home to the Caboolture Arboretum, just to check out what it's like. I've never been here before. I live in a little town called Morayfield, and Morayfield, well, it didn't exist when I was a child. Well, I mean, it existed, but there wasn't a lot there. The closest real population centre was Caboolture. And Caboolture, those who are Keith Urban fans may have heard that name before, because this is where he grew up. And I decided to come down here and check out this arboretum as a site for the walk in the garden today. This is just a beautiful parkland with lots of trees, hence the name Arboretum. It's a beautiful spot to just come sit and relax, walk around the water. It is late July 2020, and as you can tell, we're suffering through another vicious winter here in Queensland, right in the middle of winter. And this is it. Just last night we heard the news here in Queensland that there had been 2 COVID cases in our state, and the story behind those 2 COVID cases is actually bothering me a little bit. 2 girls decided they wanted some designer handbags, and they flew to Melbourne. If you know the situation in Australia, you'll know that Victoria is designated a hotspot. People from Queensland are not supposed to travel there, and certainly if they do, they can't come back without quarantining for 2 weeks. So these 2 girls went to Melbourne and shoplifted the bags, and then flew back through Sydney so that they could come back into Queensland without declaring that they'd been in a hotspot. They actually contracted COVID virus while in Victoria, and have spent the last 8 to 10 days walking around Queensland with the disease, and going to work, going to restaurants, going to stores, and infecting people. That's dumb enough in and of itself, but the really frustrating thing is that one of the sites they carried their COVID virus to was a Christian school, which is bad enough because it impacts the children there, but the end result is that they are therefore identified as church attending Christians. And what is it that bothers me about that? Well, it's the perception that Christians continuously reflect to a larger community, and that does bother me. The way that I think about faith, and the way that I think about understanding God, I value as resting upon very sound, rational ideas. I guess when I was young, I wasn't beyond seeing my faith in ways that some people might look at in terms of superstition. But as I grew older, superstition or just archaic ideas, as I grew older and my faith became more and more important to me, it became important to me to understand my faith in constructs that made sense and that worked in the real world. When I see Christians arguing for things that are simply stupid, or having a faith that is based on their own constructs and superstitions, it bothers me. It bothers me enough to when I see things on Facebook particularly, get frustrated by it. And quite frankly, lots of times not even want to identify as a Christian. So let's think about that for a moment. You remember last week I said I was going to be talking about vulnerability this week? Well, this is my chance. Faith, for me, is an important part of who I am. The ideas around which I understand my faith shape the way I understand myself. So we are talking about identity issues and self-worth issues. The reason then that I get frustrated when I see Christians acting in ways that are counter good thinking, counter science for that matter, is because I don't want to be associated with that. I don't want to be that kind of a person. So my frustration actually has to do with the way I see myself, not with the broader truths, actually. Broad truths can stand on their own. They'll be around long after I'm gone. They were here long before I got here. They don't need me. I need them. And the extent to which my self-worth and identity is built upon those ideas is the extent to which I get frustrated when they are conflicted against, contradicted, I guess would be a good word to say. So that's probably an area that I can work on. That's an area that I can think my way through, or perhaps find a little bit more peace in the process. In relationships, in relational communities, there are, in my understanding, 5 key values that are imperative for a affirming community to work. The trust, safety, affirmation, vulnerability, and I've forgotten the 5th one. I'm going to have to think about that. Anyway, I think from time to time I am going to want to reflect on those 5 values, and one of those is vulnerability. Vulnerability is an idea or a reality that is actually very scary to us. It has to do with opening up ourselves to others in ways that give them the potential to hurt us. And so we don't like the idea of vulnerability very much because it means we can be hurt. But the truth is that to be vulnerable to someone is to give that other person the gift of the true you, the real you. And that's a gift of love. And so in order for love to work, there has to be vulnerability. People might care very deeply for each other, even feel like they love each other. But that love cannot go any deeper than the vulnerability that is present, because vulnerability is opening up the real us to the other. So the walk in the garden is a walk to a place of vulnerability. It's a very courageous walk, because it says my identity and my worth is not found in my ideas, it's not found in my circumstances, it's found in the security that I am indeed valuable and I am indeed worth loving, which is one of the benefits that faith in a God of love that works in reality to reflect his love actually brings. All of the structures that people might use to talk about their religion or their faith that are simply about creating mechanisms of control are actually not genuine faith constructs. Faith is a very vulnerable activity. So even when I'm vulnerable to another human being, I'm putting my faith in them. I'm saying to you, you are able to hurt me, but I have confidence in who you are. And so it becomes this valuing gift. It becomes this gift of grace. And if the walk in the garden is going to be successful, it is going to take us to that place of vulnerability. Do you know what the most amazing thing about vulnerability is? It creates a space whereby we can actually be changed by love. So when I love somebody and I give them my true self and I become vulnerable with them, I'm actually empowering the process of transformation. I am making it possible for myself to become more like love in that. So when I shared those ideas at the beginning of this video, was it really to give expression to my frustrations or to tell the story of radical irresponsibility that these people represented? It was actually to be vulnerable with you, to show you a little bit about myself, to show you what frustrates me. And even things that we think are good things, like the way I think about my faith, if I invest my identity in that, it will lead to frustration, conflict, a sense of discouragement when people aren't moving in the direction that I would like them to move. And so what has to happen is that I have to be able to say, this is who I am, this is what I believe, this is what I understand, but I am going to love you whether or not you believe and accept and understand things the way that I do, because you are a valuable human being, as am I. But my worth does not rest in my ideas, my worth rests in the reality that I am able to be loved as a human being, that my personhood doesn't preclude the capacity, idea of worth and of love. In fact, my personhood embraces those ideas, as does yours. Well, I will unpack those 5 ideas over the future. I'm not sure I'm going to do them sequentially because other things might pop up, but from time to time I'll talk about those, and by the time I publish this video, I will have gone back to my my notes and found that 5th one, and I'll tag it. In fact, by now I've already tagged it into the place where I forgot them. So those 5 things will be featured at different points in the future. If you have anything that you want to ask me about, if you would like me to make a video about it, I'll be more than happy to do so. If you're watching this on YouTube, I'll say what all YouTubers say. Click like and subscribe. I am discovering that that's the way that things get reflected to more and more people. And ultimately, I would like to see a good group of people engaged in this journey, this walk in the garden. I'm thrilled that you're a part of it, and I'd love for the people that you care about to be a part of this too. So until next week, keep walking in the garden. bye.